there's all these stories about, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites.
Number 24 is Content Farms in Macedonia.
Бидејќи ако се направи грешка, таа ќе биде кобна. Нема враќање назад.
So Europe need to remain more sexy lady in the world. Ajde, majkata!
Господа ја чува Македонија и низините граѓани.
It's election eve in Macedonia with local elections scheduled for Sunday, October 19. VMRO has a commanding lead over Citisa, and on the ethnic Albanian side, it's neck and neck with Dui's Ali Ahmeti demanding early parliamentary elections if his party comes in first amongst Macedonians, Albanians. Prime Minister Miskoski hints that, well, maybe there will be. We'll discuss all this and more in this episode of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. I'm Jason Miko, coming to you from the foot of the Catalina Mountains in Oro Valley, Arizona.
And this is Cvetin in Skopje, Macedonia.
It's been a while, Cvetin. It's been, I think, I was there the last time we did episode, this is episode 194, so the last episode we did right before Independence Day in Macedonia, so that was the week.
Yeah, we are really...
Great. Yeah, we're slacking. We apologize.
Delinquent.
Truants. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot going on. I mean, yeah, and anyway, we're back. We've got things to talk about, the elections. We were talking about this offline, but let's talk about it now. So I was in Detroit, not last weekend, the weekend before. By the way, this is the first weekend. Today is Sunday, October 12, and this is the first weekend I've been at home since mid-August. So
yeah,
I have just been all over the place.
That's fun.
So yes, I was in Detroit for UMD, that's the United Macedonian Diaspora's 20th anniversary gala. 2 weeks ago. It was a Saturday night event, dinner. About 400 or 500 Macedonians there. The honoree was our friend Jerry Naumoff, was the honored. Marian Ilic, whose husband Mike Ilic founded Little Caesars Pizza, was also honored. It was a great event. President Gordana was there. Foreign Minister Timcho. I met both of them for the first time, which was
really?
cool.
You haven't met Gordana before?
No, I never met her.
Okay.
I never met Timcho either. So it was good to meet them. Good to catch up with some old friends and whatnot. And Jerry and Luann, his wife, and some of his kids were there. Nick and some others. So really good event. Of course, there was Macedonian dancing. I met up with our friend Chris Pavlovsky was there as well.
Nice.
And a whole bunch of others. But yeah, lots of Macedonian dancing, talking about all that UMD has done over the past 20 years. I mean, and Meto Koloski, you have to give him credit for creating the organization 20 years ago. I remember meeting him it was in New York, for the Republican National Convention in August of 2004, and met with Meto, and he said, I'm going to create this group, and we're going to bring all the diaspora together. And having been involved with, NGOs and the nonprofit side of the world for a while, I thought to myself, good luck. And sure enough, he pulled it off, and it's stronger than ever, I think. And they've done a lot of good things.
And how was the mood? What was the main thing people are talking about?
Actually, it was one of what's the right word? Celebration, really. Of Macedonia is still there. It's doing better. It's getting better. There's always the ups and downs. There's always the problems with some of Macedonia's neighbors. We don't need to mention really. But yeah, it was one of celebration. Actually, the president's speech did focus quite a bit on that and how Macedonia, cannot continue to be bullied, and Macedonia needs guarantees and this, that, and the other. So I'm sure her speech is on her website somewhere. But it was really good, really good.
And I heard Jerry had an awesome speech about the need of Macedonians from the diaspora to come back to to the country and
he did. Yes, he
contribute.
said come back like he did with his wife
Yeah.
and kids. He said even if you can't come back full time, come back part time. So
Yeah.
I think he was hinting at me when he said that because that's what I've talked about. 3 months on, 3 months off type thing. So, but we'll see. But just really
Make
good
it
event.
6 and 6.
Yeah. Although here's the funny thing, Cvetin. So I am so I come twice a year to Macedonia. I've been involved in Macedonia now, coming up on 30 years in May. 30 years in May. And I got there on a Friday. This was on Saturday night. So I had Friday night. I went looking for craft breweries because that's what I like to do, and good burgers. And I was wandering around downtown Detroit. Last time I was in Detroit was 2014, I think.
Okay.
But and I'd been there, once or twice before that. But Detroit has come back. Detroit is synonymous with Motor City. So this is where America's car industry really sprang forth from, and it really 20, 30 years ago was falling apart. Especially as competition from around the world with automobiles, etc. And the Illich family, I think they own half of downtown Detroit, and most of the major sports teams. But I was walking around and I thought, it's big, it's impressive, it's coming back, but I just felt like a foreigner there, to be honest. I feel more comfortable walking around any part of Macedonia than I do in Detroit. It's just kind of weird.
Seriously, because of the people who live there, or
it's just weird to me. It's just different. I don't know. It's they're my fellow Americans, but it just seems odd. I don't know. Hard to explain it.
Or some of them are probably your fellow Americans.
That's true. Yes.
I don't know how big is Detroit on migration now.
I don't know, but
I don't think Indians are moving in or other migrants.
Dearborn is just a few miles away from downtown Detroit. So I couldn't quite hear the call to prayer. But that, by the way, that issue really, at least the way I follow, maybe I'm just too close to it. I follow it quite a bit on Twitter and other social media platforms. Is that the Dearborn and now Michigan is now majority ethnic or majority Muslim, not ethnic, but majority Muslim, and they have the call 5 times a day, call to prayer 5 times a day, blasted through the loudspeakers. Which, my point, whether it's in Dearborn or in anywhere in Macedonia, is that it's a common decency, community standards issue. It has nothing to do with their right to pray. They have absolutely every right to pray, and the call to prayer, as long as it's done without amplification. So the imam can go up into the minaret and shout, etc. But it's done because, as our friend Chris DeLiso calls it, it's called sonic cleansing, is what he calls it. So it's designed to drive people out. And it certainly is working in Dearborn, not only with Muslims coming in, but non-Muslims leaving, I'm sure. So this has always been a big issue for me in Macedonia, is that somehow, anyway, that's
I've seen you comment on this. We talked about this. It's like one small segment of the actual issue of a growing Muslim population in Europe.
Yeah.
Some were migrant. In our case, they've been immigrating from Kosovo for a while, so they're like domestic, and some are domestic, but somewhere they're like completely alien, or would have been alien like 5 years ago. Now they're a majority in some parts, some towns in the UK. So it's just the visible, or in this case, audible symptom of the demographic changes, and this will have to either be frozen at the current level, or one side prevails, and who knows which one will. But it's pretty bleak for Europe.
Between the Muslim infiltration takeover of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the crackdown on speech by normies, if you criticize Muslims, then you're going to be arrested. Between those two things, I have absolutely no desire to visit the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland for a long, long time. Until Nigel Farage becomes prime minister and starts cleaning house. But this is interesting. I know we just talked a moment ago at the monologue about local elections, and we'll get to that. But some of the other things we had kind of talked about offline, and we're talking about them right now. I opened my computer this morning, and the first article that pops up is a Telegraph article. War breaks out between Pakistan and Afghanistan, two Muslim countries. Then we're watching All Eyes on the Middle East right now. So the remaining 20 living hostages that the barbarian Hamas group kidnapped on October 7th, 2023 are supposed to be released maybe later today or tomorrow. Then the other 28 remains of the 28 dead hostages are supposed to be given back to Israel.
Sorry, how many are still alive?
20.
Okay.
20 are alive, 28 are dead. The remains are supposed to be... But part of the problem is that they were farmed out to other offshoots of Hamas, like Islamic Jihad and others, so they're all over Gaza, and a lot of the people who knew where the dead were buried are literally dead themselves. So that's it. But Trump is really, he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize next year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Obviously, it's too late for this year because nominations had to be in by January, and I think he gets that. But I don't think this whole thing is going to hold long term. There's 21 points. Now we're talking about international events, and folks, stay with us. We'll get to local elections in Macedonia. But this agreement that was brokered by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner primarily, it brings in not just Hamas and Israel, but I think it's Egypt, Saudi Arabia are signatories. I think Indonesia, believe it or not, which is strange.
They're investing a lot. They're like a neutral Muslim power, like non-offensive Muslim power.
Actually, I believe the Prime Minister at UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, the other week, basically ended his speech by praising Israel, which was interesting.
The Prime Minister of Indonesia?
Yes. So
I wasn't following the speeches at UNGA that closely.
I wasn't following them either, but I just happened to see that one. So, but anyway, there's all these players from the Muslim world that are part of this agreement, and there's 21 points, and we're at point 1.5, I think, right now. So Israel withdrew to the yellow line, so-called. Hostages are turned over. That's point 2, and then point 3 is we'll see, and we'll go from there. But President is flying probably soon, later today, to Israel, and then he's going to address the Knesset tomorrow morning, Israel time, and then going to Egypt for the signing of this agreement, and we'll see. But going back and mixing all of these issues up with the call to prayer in Dearborn, etc., the Muslim influence growing in the world, it's a problem. Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. Yeah. I've come to that conclusion, and don't know what. No, you can only contain it, deal with it. You can't eradicate it. That's just the way it is, and so.
But Western civilization is no longer compatible with replicating itself, expanding, or surviving. So somebody will be here to pick up the slack. So, and the Chinese, but it's many of them, but they're also not growing. So who knows?
Sometimes it seems like that, and sometimes I think that you're right. But then, and now moving into another subject we just touched on briefly offline. It is entirely within our ability to renew Western civilization, and Charlie Kirk is a great example of that. And I was in Macedonia when I got the news that he had been shot and killed. And then I don't know if you watched the memorial celebration of his life.
Parts of it,
So, and actually, as soon as I got back from Macedonia,
wait, sorry,
on
you
Monday,
were in Phoenix for the memorial or before the memorial?
No, before the memorial. I went up there with my sister and brother-in-law to lay flowers at TP. Turning Point USA was headquartered in Phoenix. Yeah. Charlie lived there with his wife and kids. So actually, and I took a Macedonian baseball cap. I printed a photo that said Macedonians love you, Charlie, and I'm praying for you and your family on Macedonian flag, and I left it there. It was just a really, really moving ceremony. So, but Charlie is one of the, and I noticed that Charlie followed you, Cvetin, on Twitter.
You
he also
told
followed
me,
me on Twitter.
He followed me, I guess, years ago, probably something I tweeted, and he did follow like 180,000 people, so it's not, but it's still huge, a huge deal. And I guess I just said, oh great, it made my day, I suppose, for the day, and then I forgot about it entirely. and then you reminded me of that.
Yeah, I thought that was just fascinating, though. So, so anyway, but Turning Point USA, Charlie, and there's been a renewed interest in not a renewed interest, but an expanded interest, I should say, in Turning Point USA and the what Charlie stood for, not just in this country but around the world. I mean, you saw the number of people, a number of world leaders that talked about Charlie.
Yeah.
The influence he had. I think he had been in South Korea just a few weeks or months before he was killed. And
and Japan, yes.
And Japan, okay,
And in Korea, he had a massive event.
Exactly,
I
right.
was checking afterwards.
So, going back to your point about Western Civ, it's entirely possible that things can be turned around. And I believe, I mean, I'm in Skopje talking to my godson who's 14, and he knew who Charlie Kirk was.
Yeah.
And he said he cried a little bit when he heard that
Seriously.
Charlie was. Yeah. Oh. So there is hope. There is hope.
He was going to, or maybe not him personally, but the Gaza war literally devastated the left because Kamala was left holding the bag. The war started. The war started on Biden's watch, and the way he handled it, like I'm kind of like sympathetic to the Palestinians, and I'm shouting at Bibi, but actually the deliveries of weapons continue. And on the far left end of the youth vote, which is super important for the Democrats, it was a bloodbath. I was following TikTok. I mean, this is why there is so much pressure to silence TikTok eventually, because the young ones were not going to vote Trump over this, but they don't eagerly vote to begin with, and then when you have like a huge issue they disagree with the Democratic Party, and then a bunch of the high-ranking people in the Democratic Party are Jewish, secular, like urbanized, not Zionist, not nationalist Jewish, but still, not suicidal. And then the energetic section of their party is literally asking to kill them, or chanting that they want to kill them. So and then Charlie comes in with all this narrative that Trump will stop the wars, and he is. I was hoping that he'll do more on Ukraine as well. Obviously, as a Slavic person, I feel more for that war, even though Gaza is also horrendous. So if he can stop it's a very important point. And Charlie was active from a different angle, but sometimes the extremities, the horseshoe and touch each other, like the far left breaking with the Democrats over Gaza, and the far right energized that Trump will deliver. It's one of the big deliverables. Stop the wars, no more Middle Eastern wars, deportations, preserve our country. We don't want to become England, and maybe it would be nice if we would be able to buy a house, like for the young people. That's also, I understand, the big issue. So Charlie was a big deal here, and I don't know how he would have played it in the future, and now after his murder, how that will play out, how the right moves into either take over the youth vote or just at least keep it fractured so they don't all vote for the Democrats. But very, very interesting political times. Like the Gen Z generation is going to be very interesting politically.
It is. By the way, did you watch the memorial or any part of it or catch part?
Yeah,
of it?
The main speeches.
Think about
Tucker,
it. JD, Super Marco Rubio, as I've now started to call him because he has so many jobs, and Erica Kirk's speech. Those were the best. I mean, but here's can you imagine this? It's a stadium filled with, I don't know, this is the stadium.
Yeah.
This is the stadium in Glendale, Arizona, where the Cardinals play, the football team.
Yeah.
70, 80,000. Then there was an overflow stadium, another 30 or 40. Every speaker, just about every speaker, talked about, I mean, Marco Rubio basically gave the gospel message of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And they all invoked the name of Jesus Christ and talked about Christianity and salvation. And I cannot, there is no other time in American history when any administration, and half his cabinet, President Trump's cabinet was there, when that would ever happen. It's just, and then Erica Kirk, to forgive the killer, live on TV. It just blew me away. And go ahead.
For Trump to come afterwards and say, okay, she forgives you, I don't. I'm going to
actually,
crack down.
The funny thing is, she should have been the last speaker because he kind of he kind of ruined it after that. But he's authentic.
But
that's who he is. So
it's absolutely necessary that he actually follows through on this, because it became normalized here. Like, we have a bunch of people in prison for the parliament storming. Mm-hmm. But like a year before that, we had the left literally set fire to an office, also a governmental office,
right,
in a residential building with people living above this office. And it became normalized and understood, and even you have to go back, check what the embassy's position was on this, that these people in prison over this, and of days and days before that of throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails at some points and sticks and whatever at the police. Like, I assume I have the right to shoot you if you throw a stone at me, right? So, I mean, you don't know where it's going to hit me and how strongly. So, and became normalized that the left can do this, the right cannot. That the left can burn down American cities, and the right cannot storm the parliament after a very obvious election theft. I know we have spoken about this and maybe disagreed to an extent, but I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious by now. And they can do it. Like, people who were literally setting fire to an office in a residential building in Skopje are now distinguished members of parliament. One is like an academic in Vienna, often interviewed. Nobody asks him, okay, did you think that you might have killed somebody in the building? Especially after Kočani, after the disaster we had. And right-wing people, both there and here, they're prosecuted to the fullest extent. So it's absolutely necessary that Trump now goes on with, the prosecutor who prosecuted him going after her, it's super funny, great. But
Letitia James. Yeah.
But the FBI spooks like Brenner, Clapper, like after Comey, Soros himself or his son, or there is a big age gap, so maybe the officials who are probably actually running the foundation. It all has to be dismantled.
Yeah, but it needs to be done legally. So, and I hope there's, and Trump has he's backed down when the courts have said no, and that's good. And we need rule of law. Now, just because the left doesn't follow the rule of law doesn't mean the right should not follow the rule of law. We've got to have rule of law. So the breaches have happened when we talk about, as you just mentioned, people that were that could have killed other people, and now they're sitting in parliament or things like that. That's wrong. I mean, the ultimate example of this, of course, is Ali Ahmeti, who started a war to rip Macedonia in two and killed innocents, and for 23 years, 24 years now, has been, the grand poobah of ethnic Albanian politics within Macedonia, and he should have been killed a long time ago. He should have been arrested and executed. Or during the war, Brat Lube should have taken one of those Ukrainian helicopters when Ali Ahmeti was in Shipkovice with a bunch of his commanders and blew him to hell. So, but that didn't happen. So, anyway, Ahmeti will get his just desserts. He will be spending eternity apart from God, and hopefully it'll be soon. But
Which ties us to the local
where
elections
was I?
nicely.
Yes,
No, I
there
thought
we
you were
go.
making
I
a
like that.
transition.
Nice.
I thought
Well
you
done,
were
well
you were
done.
going there. Then I realized, okay, no, oh, he's not. At one point, I realized, no, he's not. It's not a transition.
Yes. It's-
We've had so many.
Right, yeah.
We've done so many podcasts so
yes,
far.
local
We should know these things by now, like how to transition.
This is true. Yes, you're right.
The longest running podcast in Macedonia.
Local elections. Yeah. Okay, so a week from today, so this is the 12th, the 19th is local elections, as I mentioned, and you're following this much more closely than I am. This is for the mayor and town city councils. So, give the listeners and give me a current read on where we are in terms of percentages.
I mean,
if we know that.
VMRO is leading in the polls. When you ask which party would you support, VMRO leads like, I don't know, like 3-1 approximately over SDSM. There's a bunch of places where
Wow.
Levica could end up being the second largest party. VMRO might actually be encouraging this, so they're confronting Levica very often. So they're, by this way, giving it oxygen among opposition-minded people who want to vote against the VMRO. They don't vote for SDSM, but for Levica. So if you get to a point where the opposition vote is split in two, it's going to be a complete disaster for SDSM. There are some shoddy polls like who do you think will win? Like not who are you going to vote for, but who do you expect to win? And in these polls, like VMRO leads, I think 7-1, something like that. So it's so this is like the elections for the council. So this will show how each party stands. But the mayoral elections are in the council. Obviously, the seats in the council are divided proportionately. But the mayor can be only one, so the party with more votes wins. And it's expected that in 99% of cases, this is going to be VMRO. So SDSM will lose Kumanova, which is super important for them, because they didn't team up with Stevcha Akimovsky, so they will very likely lose. They may team up with Stevcha for the second round, but it's not sure who will be, whether the SDSM candidate or Stevcha will enter the second round. They will lose Strumica pretty assuredly because the former mayor, Zaev's loyalist, Kostadinov, is in open warfare with his own party, and he's even announcing that he'll form a faction or challenge the leader after the elections, Filipcha. So they'll lose like two very important places they were hoping to win. They might win Sintar, but even their candidate is not running with the usual SDSM logos. He's like running a separate campaign, completely different graphic design, different slogans. Like he's ashamed of his party. So even what they win might end up, costing them. Even he might be like a challenger in the party afterwards. So all focus is on helping Dui. So SDSM desperately wants to help Dui. That Dui beats the Albanian party Vlin, which is a much more cooperative, much more sensible coalition partner for VMRO. And then if Dui wins by a large margin, then Dui will demand early general elections. And as you said in the introduction, the Prime Minister said that this might happen, that he might grant them this wish. This might actually end up costing Dui a lot, because he might do what SDSM was hoping to do in 2020 for the 2024 elections, when they were devastated, form a pre-election coalition with Dui. So in this case now, Mickovsky could make a pre-election coalition with Vlin. Macedonian VMRO voters will carry Vlin to win in a number of mayoral races against Dui in cities like Tetovo, in Chair, in Skopje, places where there is a lot of Macedonians who can make up the difference between the Albanian parties. But we can also do this for them in a general election, and then, it's going to be like with VMRO dominating SDSM so strongly, we could have like a fair proportion of Albanians on the lists and VLAN candidates, and VLAN could end up dominating DUI. So this could also be, but this would be like a discussion for next year after the local elections. At the moment, it's possible that it's very likely that VMRO will destroy SDSM and that DUI will beat VLAN in the race for the councils, but VLAN will have a very decent share of mayoral positions, and that both parties can then claim legitimacy, especially as DUI has two other big parties who will win important mayoral positions with their help. One of the alliances of Albanians, two parties with the same name, will probably win in Struga, and another will probably win in Gostivar. Although they might even lose. So the problem is DUI will have like very difficult coalition partners after the local elections.
Right. Now, and with the alliance, remind me, because it gets very confusing because they keep going back and forth and trading positions. So Taravari is now with DUI.
Yes.
So, okay. So, and
Ziad
and the other one
Sela.
is the doctor, well, they're both doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the opposite side.
Okay, they're together at the moment, but they're also grumpy. And it's if, for example, Sela wins in Struga, but Taravari loses in Gostivar, and Taravari is not even running himself. He is a different guy. Well, he fears that the Macedonian voters will carry the VLAN candidate to victory, and that he would end up looking like a loser.
Right.
So even he is being guarded. He's running he's a friend of his, but from his party, but he's not running himself. So, and if if Sela wins, he will say, okay, I'm now the stronger alliance of Albanians. I deserve more seats in the next in the general elections.
And it's important. Yeah, it's important to remember Taravari was the health minister in the VMRO government when he was part of the
government. He's bought and paid for by this oligarch.
No ideology.
One of the oligarchs that VMRO is trying to put in prison. And the courts are slow rolling the investigation, literally bought and sold Taravari. And there was an intervention from Edi Rama, the Albanian prime minister, also intervened to have Taravari leave the coalition with VMRO. So we have Albania meddling.
Yeah, that's another one. Edi Rama has been around. So Albanians just had in the Republic of Albania just had their parliamentary elections a few months ago, I believe, and he was reelected.
Yeah.
Fourth term, though, by the way. Folks, everybody complaining about Orban being in his fourth term. Remember that Edi Rama is now in his fourth term, and no signs of him going anywhere. And he is a meddler to not just in Macedonia, but other places as well. Not to even mention Kosovo and Kurti, etc.
Yeah.
So, but that's a whole other kettle of fish that we can set aside. So, all right. So, and just looking at dates again, today's the 12th. The 19th is the first round. Second round would be 2 weeks later or 1 week later?
Early November, something. And Mickovski is now making
obviously
a big point in the elections because so he has this DUI oligarch Jahoski with pretty credibly confirmed corruption. He has a major corruption scandal now in Bitola with the coal mining plant, a local oligarch who was doing deals with SDSM. There's a bunch of these cases, like a bunch of them linked with the energy company, with LM. And for example, Jahoski was released from prison, from detention into house arrest. He has millions to spend and intimidate voters, etc. This guy from Bitola now, he was also allowed into house arrest. there was talk that he might be rearrested, but still, again, millions upon millions he can use to intimidate witnesses, to scare people off. So the big point now for Christian in the elections is that he says he will personally begin to handle and focus on the judiciary after the elections. The chief prosecutor is still the same guy appointed by SDSM and DUI, a guy who was involved in wiretapping Mickovsky personally. So that's a big issue. So yeah, he still hasn't been replaced, and even this is like brazen behavior on the part of the judges, not to allow this type of people into house arrest. And there is also another scandal that just broken by Branko Girovsky, that the prosecution, they had the phones, the devices of the owner of the nightclub in Kuchany, which burned down, of his son, and that there were messages there in which they're talking between themselves, but the messages are, okay, this friend of mine spoke to the interior minister, Oliver Spasovsky at the time, from SDSM. And Spasovsky called the police in Štip, who are like superior to the police in Kuchany, to intervene with the Kuchany police, to tell them to stop snooping around the nightclub, to stop trying to shut them down, investigating their safety failures. In another message, very directly, it's exchanged with a local IRS tax authority person, and the tax authority has the power to shut you down if you're not paying the value-added tax. So it's not like a safety thing. It's you're misrepresenting the volume of sales and not paying the taxes you should. But still, it would have shut down the nightclub, right? So the conversation is the tax guy advises the owner of the nightclub, telling him, okay, you need to talk to Deputy Prime Minister Maricic, because the guy who has to make the decision is his father-in-law. So you use your political connections to get to Maricic and he will help you out. And the guy says, well, we were able to speak to another minister in the government, but not to Maricic yet. So they're like, there's a whole, and we have arrested and charged a whole bunch of economy ministers who were responsible of approving or issuing a permit for the nightclub to operate. But they're in Skopje, they are, distant. They can refer to local officials who investigated the place. But this is much worse. These are another bunch of ministers in the government from SDSM. Apparently the owner was very tight with SDSM. And the discussions are, okay, people are investigating our failures. Please help us undermine the investigations. And there is response that we spoke to this person committed, this person acted to help us out. It's extremely more serious than what this first batch of ministers was charged with. So yeah, it's a huge deal now. The judiciary is going to be a huge deal after the elections.
Well, that's good news, because the judiciary has been a major issue, major problem in Macedonia for decades.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, good. We'll see what happens with that. Of course, you got local elections. You said second round probably early November. Then people have to get settled, and then all of a sudden we're in December, and then we're in the holidays and New Year's, and then we're in the end of January, and especially going back to if there's going to be early parliamentary elections, and that's not going to be until springtime at the earliest. And then we're pretty close to the 2-year mark for this current government. Of course, the problem is you don't want to be holding elections every 2 years like we do, because it's exhausting. not to mention expensive. So
I mean, VMRO could make a government with Dewey even
okay.
without elections. Dewey has the votes. The issue is that at the very least, so if it's like a complete devastation for Vlin, and if VMRO decides to cut Vlin off, then at the very least we need Ahmeti out. So, and this might happen. This might. There might be like a.
I mean, he might die.
Well, ideally, but okay, we're not supposed to joke about death anymore. It's become too serious. Even with Ahmeti.
No. Hang on. No, death for murderers is one thing.
True.
I'm all for cheering on the death of murderers. That's not an issue.
I can see that. It's different. There might be like pressure in Dewey itself after the elections. Okay, we won. We are close to sealing the deal with VMRO, but VMRO could still just ignore us. Carry on with the government, have more than enough votes in parliament. The only issue is they cannot adopt laws which require this double majority of ethnic minorities. And, there are not that many of those laws, so it's not such a big deal. But then, if VMRO makes a tacit offer to Dewey, okay, we will bring you in, and we will keep the people in Vlen we like, so we can add you to the coalition, but the old man has to go. It might be very interesting, an interesting dynamic in Dewey.
Right.
I mean, the ideal situation is that VMRO is the dominant political party in the country, and everybody else is bickering to be inside, and they're splintering the opposition and the Albanian parties, and because that's the only way we can carry on as a country and do something done.
Get something done, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. Okay, well, watch this space then. All right, well, let's do this then. Let's see. Next week, I have we could touch on the elections in a podcast right after the elections, though the week of the 20th, Monday the 20th, I've actually got a Macedonian friend visiting me for a few days here, so I'm probably not going to be available to do a podcast. But anyway, we'll figure out when we can get a podcast done. Maybe that week or that weekend, and talk about this and see what's going on. And try not to make this as have such gaps between our podcast. So, and again, we keep talking about this. I feel like we've been talking about the upcoming 200th podcast,
and we'll talk for a year more
because we're doing them so infrequently. Yes, we'll plan something for that. Who knows? Maybe, and that might correspond when I'm there for Christmas. I come there for Orthodox.
That would be nice. That would be cool.
So. Yeah, maybe. Okay. All right. Let's look at the calendar. Look at the number of podcasts we have to get to 200. Look at the news of the world in Macedonia, and we'll get this figured out. But our next podcast will be on election results, not breaking news, obviously, but more analytical. And diving into that, and we'll be able to touch on what's happened in Middle East, Israel, etc. at the same time. So, okay, good. Well, it was good catching up with you.
Good show.
Always enjoy it, and
of course. Take care, buddy.
Soon. You too.